Hey, this is Chairman Evan Power. Welcome to episode 2. Today we're going to have a conversation with Attorney General James Uthmeier. He went from a staffer in a law firm that represented Donald Trump leading up to the 2016 election to now Attorney General of the state of Florida. In the coming weeks, you're going to hear from us and as we bring in leaders from across Florida who are leaders in our movement. But let's hear from James Uthmeier in the conversation we had. Thank you for joining us, Attorney General.
Glad to be here.
So let's start with you. You have a rare feat in politics. You were appointed by Governor DeSantis. You were endorsed by President Trump. But let's go back into the beginning. How did you work with President Trump and in the lead up to his first campaign? How did you start and how did you get here?
Sure. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. I worked in private practice at the law firm Jones Day in Washington, D.C., and was one of the first lawyers to provide counsel to Trump in his first presidential campaign. Had the honor to serve on his transition team, and then ultimately was a senior advisor and counsel to Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, focusing on trade policy, infrastructure, the census, a lot of topics that I didn't realize would end up carrying me further and wouldn't necessarily go away in life. But it was a great start. After a couple years in the administration, I was ready to get home, raise a family in Florida, grew up in the Panhandle, was excited to get back, and that was right around the time Governor DeSantis got elected. So it was a great way to get home and continue to serve, be active in the fight down here in Florida.
And you were chief of staff to Governor DeSantis, and now you're an appointed attorney general. Which job do you prefer better, and how are they a little different?
I still say the job of chief of staff to the governor is probably the most difficult in the state. Problems find you every minute of the day. The job of attorney general, I get to make problems for other people and have some discretion to pick and choose the fights I want to bring. But both wonderful jobs. It was an honor to be appointed by the governor. I'll never forget, working for him over the years and the most conservative policy wins that we've ever had in Florida history under his leadership. Now I look forward to continuing the fight in this new capacity.
Well, you hit the ground running for sure. You mentioned the census a second ago. Talk about the census and what went wrong in the last census when Joe Biden took over and where we can go from there to here now.
Well, I think people at home don't fully appreciate how important the census is to the future electoral, power decisions of our country. The census, the count of people, is how we determine how many congressional representatives a state is going to get to represent the people in D.C. It's how we decide the electoral votes that decide our next president. It's how billions of dollars are spread out across the country. And in the last census, while I was working there at the Department of Commerce, Florida was projected to get 2 new seats. And now we're going into COVID. Everybody knows what happened there. Florida's population just continued to swell. So we certainly didn't go down. And nevertheless, the Biden administration came in. They slowed everything down. There were reports of a lot of problems in the tabulations and processing, finalizing of the census. And then, out it pops with Florida just getting 1 seat. And Rhode Island, who was supposed to lose a seat, did not. And the incoming, Commerce Secretary, everybody knows where she was from. So the census is important. I still believe it's wrong that illegal immigrants have been included in apportionment. It gives states like California more electoral power based on a heightened presence of people that do not have a constitutional right to vote. I think this is wrong. I think the founders would find it abhorrent, and I'm continuing to serve and help the federal administration where necessary to right this wrong.
Yeah. And I think obviously we know the population has gone crazy in Florida since COVID. So I think
whenever we do have a new census, Florida is certainly going to be a beneficiary. In fact, I think red states across the country will. Yeah. People have voted with their feet during the hysteria of COVID as crime rates soar in leftist states. People are flocking to conservative jurisdictions, and that's going to be great for conservative states in the future.
Yeah, and sets us up great for presidential years, too. But also, as you hit the ground running, one of the first things you said when you were sworn in was talking about illegal immigration, and Florida was going to lead the way on illegal immigration. One of the things that made a little bit of news was Alligator Alacatraz. Tell us how that came about and your view of why that was a great policy for not just Florida, but for nationwide to do that kind of.
Yeah, well, Florida, we've been leading the way on immigration enforcement. I mean, we were taking it seriously and doing everything a state could do before President Trump took office. So for us, it was easy. The minute the federal government blessed our ability to help out, all of our state law enforcement, all of our sheriffs immediately got certified and delegated authority to conduct interdictions, detentions, and ultimately help the Department of Homeland Security deport illegals back to where they came from. So we were working hard. Our sheriffs were leading the way. I think we've got 3 times more detentions than the rest of the states combined, which is not a surprise if you know how serious we take law and order here in Florida. But our jails were starting to fill up. We needed more space, so we began working with our state leaders to find new bed space to house these people until they could be deported. This plot of land down in the southern part of the state is something we've been trying to think about what to do with it for a long time. It's completely surrounded by the Everglades. There was the largest runway in the state was built there back in the 60s and 70s before the concept of a large airport there was abandoned. And it really was President Trump that gave me the idea. I was watching him on TV talking about reopening the original Alcatraz. I don't know if that's possible or can be done, but we have our own Alcatraz, and it can certainly hold a lot more people. So Alligator Alacatraz is up and running. It's housing, thousands of detainees at any given time, many deportation flights every week. It's a one-stop shop where we get people in, we finish, the due process that they're afforded, and then we get them back where they came from. And we knew when we rolled out the idea, the left would scream and cry and pitch fits. We knew they'd bring sham lawsuits and try to shut us down. My office has been very busy defending the concept against those, very, very leftist partisan attacks, and we have been successful. I'm Attorney General James Uthmeier. It's an honor to fight for Floridians every single day. If you like what you're seeing and hearing here, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Well, the Florida squad showed up in their little matching mosquito nets and Voss water bottles to show up. Did you anticipate that kind of craziness?
When it first happened, we had a smaller population that was being housed there. And I could look through the roster and literally see some of the atrocious crimes that these individuals had committed that were being detained there. And then, you've got the Florida Democrat squad coming out to cry and protest and plead for the rights of these illegal criminal aliens. You don't see that for the victims that have been, that have suffered terrible harms through human trafficking, that have been abused. Many kids have been abused by illegal aliens. That is without doubt. I wish the Democrats in this state would recognize what I think most of the public has. We need a secure border to be a safe country. We need our sovereignty. And at the end of the day, the crime that poured over the southern border was so large and widespread when it comes to fentanyl and other drug trafficking, human trafficking. It's seeped into communities across the country. And thank God we've got a president that is fighting back, and we're here to help.
Well, and I think the flip side of that is when you talk to the Democrats and what they did is they gave us a lot of media coverage to tell that story. I think we joke that one of the funniest things that happened was I went on TMZ to talk about Alligator Alacatraz. I did not think they'd put a party chair on TMZ, but here we are. But it gave us the opportunity to kind of tell the Florida story, and I think that helped us. And it's go into where the truck driver committed that heinous act here and killed people. We were able to tell the story on what they're now exposed about the CDL licenses in other states.
It impacts everything, and you can do everything right as a state. In Florida, we can be law and order. We can back our law enforcement. We can enforce federal law. But the dangers of careless actions like California and Gavin Newsom, we're working on a lawsuit right now to sue the state of California in the United States Supreme Court due to the harms that their careless sanctuary policies have resulted in states like Florida. And it is very wrong. We've suffered harm, both economic, physical. So at the end of the day, we will fight back. And the Democrats have exposed themselves as the party that doesn't truly care about American citizens. Evan, some of these Democrats, they came on a tour of the facility and they brought thermometers to put them up next to the warm light to try to get a false reading of the temperature in an air-conditioned facility to try to get media buzz, that this is an inhumane place. They made arguments and complained that detainees had to brush their teeth in the same room as the toilet. I mean, that's like the hotel I stayed in just last night. That is a modern day restroom. So at the end of the day, common sense prevails. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. The American people, they want a border, they want security, they want sovereignty, and they're very pleased with what President Trump and our efforts are doing.
Talk about new and exciting things. Monique Worrell in Orlando, she was removed by the governor last time. Unfortunately, she won re-election. But when we look at her, she's doing some really serious things, not prosecuting crimes the way they're supposed to be prosecuted. And you've been highlighting some of those. I would like to tell our viewers exactly what she's doing and why it's a problem for us as a state.
Well, immediately after getting reelected back into the seat from which Governor DeSantis suspended her, she again put non-prosecution policies in writing, claiming she didn't have enough resources to prosecute all of these crimes. So our office, we set down a whole tiger team of prosecutors to provide help. If resource constraints are truly the problem, I don't think they are, then we will pitch in and we will help alleviate the backlog. But she hasn't withdrawn those policies despite the help we've given, and we've cleared hundreds and hundreds of cases from the backlog. And now we just see example after example of her engaging in soft on crime policies. This individual that was masturbating at a public kids park in front of 2-year-olds, she didn't bring charges. She said that's maybe wrong, but not a crime. No. That is a crime. People at home, that is a crime. She allowed somebody that was trafficking, tens of thousands of files of child porn, abuses to even toddlers, to go free, drop charges, and he was going to flee into Canada. My office got him. We're going to prosecute him under some authorities that we believe we have and ensure that we are holding wrongdoers accountable. We keep seeing these cases. We're going to fight back. We're going to do everything we can to move them to other jurisdictions and step in and help, because at the end of the day, it's about public safety. It's not partisan. It's not red. It's not blue. It's about keeping Americans safe, and that's the priority.
And you just can't have one prosecutor not doing what every other one's doing, because I think that obviously raises problems for constitutionality of laws long term.
I couldn't agree more. So we will be watching and we will conduct as much oversight and step in where needed.
So next up, obviously, the presidential library and the land that was given to the potential foundation. Moving forward, tell us about how that process has unfolded and what's in store for Florida. I think it's a big win for us.
It is. Yeah. We made it very clear to the president and his team. He's a Florida resident. We need our first presidential library, and there's no place better than Florida. The governor made a strong commitment to them, that they could have access to space at one of our universities or colleges. And they picked Miami-Dade College next to the Freedom Tower. I think it's very fitting. We have our own Ellis Island in the Freedom Tower. It was the place where Cuban refugees arrived, fleeing the terrors of communism in the 1950s and 60s. So it's a beacon of freedom. It's a beacon of hope. It's a beacon of liberty for the country. And for President Trump's library to now be directly next door, I think it's just a terrific feature. Miami's kind of becoming the capital of the world in many respects. Yes. And now, Trump's legacy, his history, his incredible story will be at the heart of it. And I do believe that, President Trump has the greatest political comeback story in history.
Chairman Evan Power here. If you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe to the channel now. I hope you're enjoying the conversation we're having with Attorney General James Uthmeier. In the comments below, let us know who you'd like to hear from next. We're committed to bringing Florida leaders who are leaders in our movement to you on a regular basis. So tell us who you want to hear from next. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. We're here with the Attorney General James Uthmeier. We're talking about the presidential library and the impact it's going to make on Florida.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible for Miami-Dade College, for our students to have opportunities there, for tourism and our visitors. It's right there next to the port in Miami where all the cruise ships go out. So I think you're going to have many, many visitors that come in and want to check out this beautiful library and the history that's therein. And I got to say, it is an honor that it's in Florida. When you think, 10 years ago, where would President Trump's library be? Everybody would probably say New York. He was the king of New York and loved New York. And that really says something about the fall of New York because of the blue sanctuary policies. If you were going to go into a library there, it probably would be unsafe outside. Here in Florida, we have the record crime lows and are going to be honored to host it. So we're happy to have the library here and are going to do everything we can working with the Trump Library Foundation in the years ahead to make sure it's a very, very special location.
Well, President Trump is the ultimate Florida man. He's taken a lot of Florida talent to the administration in D.C. He also recently endorsed you for Attorney General. Tell us what that feels like and what that means to you.
Yeah, it's a great honor. I mean, I've been working every day to help the president deliver on his promises, and it's incredible all that he's getting done. He's truly delivering for the American people in the way he promised on his campaign. When it comes to promoting American companies, keeping families safe, securing the border, bringing peace around the world, even ensuring that there's no taxes on tips, something a lot of us never thought would be possible. He's been able to deliver, and it's an honor to work for him. I'm glad that he saw the success we've had in the Florida AG's office, and he was willing to give us his stamp of approval. So we're going to continue to fight for families and conservative values and put bad guys behind bars.
Well, you go full sprint all the time. I joke sometimes that I don't think you sleep because we get a press release at like 5 o'clock in the morning. You're going to be somewhere. You have some new policy. What's next for you as we move on to the next couple of months as Attorney General?
Well, I got 3 little babies at home, a 5, 3, and 1-year-old. So I'm not sleeping a lot, and that gives me some time to work around the clock. But what's next? Really, it is all about them. It's about the kids. My office knows our number one priority is to protect our kids. I think in today's age with technology emerging and the influence of social media, it's made it so easy for predators to get to our kids. We've been a part of over 1,000 child predator arrests just since I took the oath of office 7-8 months ago. And most of these cases originate through applications like Snapchat, through the gaming application Roblox. So we have brought both civil and criminal actions against many of these companies. Roblox in particular, we just launched criminal subpoenas to get more data on the predators, the victims, as well as the dangerous, careless behavior of a company that wanted to profit off of our kids at the expense of them being abused in some of the most horrific ways. We're going to continue this fight. We're going to continue to ensure that we're locking people up, that we're giving them tough sentences. We're seeing across the country that early releases, light sentencing, soft on crime policies, they do not work. The poor, woman on the train in North Carolina, the individual that committed that barbaric offense had been released, I think, 14 previous times. So in Florida, we're going to put people away. We're going to lock them up as long as possible, and we're going to keep our families safe.
And I appreciate the hard work you're doing. As a father of 2 young children, I appreciate that. And the technology and how they get in. I also heard you say something not too long ago about the fact that when you look at all these arrests, a high percentage of them end up being illegal aliens. So going back to what we were talking about before is these people are coming to our country, committing these heinous acts, and they shouldn't have been here to begin with. So I think that's an important part to notice, because you gave a stat that I thought was like 25% of them seem to be illegal aliens, and that's pretty scary.
We are seeing that. Yeah, in Polk County just a few weeks ago, we arrested about 250 or so individuals that were engaging in trafficking, prostitution, preying upon kids, and 48 of those arrested were illegal aliens. And that's not a one-off. Every time we do a lot of these stings, we see a disproportionately high number of illegal aliens. Now, I'm not saying everybody that's undocumented here in our state is evil, malicious, or wanting to do these harmful things. I think there are people that want to be here for the right reasons. And to them, I say, take the federal government up on the $1,000 and the free flight back to where you came from, where you can remain eligible to come in here the right way, the legal way. And everybody else, we're going to go out there and we're going to get them. But it does highlight how much criminal activity was going across the border and how vast it spread across the country.
Another thing your office took a real lead in is you were the first Attorney General's office to open an Office of Parental Rights. Tell us why that's important and what it does.
Sure. Well, we've passed legislation, over the last 4 or 5 years, the Parents' Bill of Rights in Florida. We've given parents all these new rights that are really God-given rights to control the upbringing, the education of their kids. To make sure that they have access to the curriculum, that there's not some sort of therapy or treatment being given to kids in school behind their backs. There's not harmful material and porn and, in K through 12 libraries. And they've got the ability where they can bring a lawsuit on their own. But the reality is most people at home, they're not going to know how or take the time to do that.
Right.
So we repurposed a lot of resources in our office to basically create a law firm for those parents that have had their rights abused. And so we've opened a portal. The portal's had complaints flooding in, and almost all of them have merit. Examples of, public schools that have pornography in a second grade classroom. Examples of a county that had a public camp where fifth grade boys were allowed to go into cabins, overnight cabins with second grade girls. This is wrong. It's illegal. We're going to fight back. And everywhere where we've begun legal action, we have been successful. So we're going to continue to stand for parents, their rights, and protect our kids everywhere we can. And I think that's part of why Florida is becoming a red state, a deep red state. Parents around the country, they see that we're going to protect their kids. They see that we're going to promote public safety, and they want to raise their families here.
It's a lot different than the Biden administration labeling domestic terrorist if they came to school board meetings. A little different.
That's right. We've come full circle here. We've got the law protecting parents, not prosecuting them.
Perfect. One of the reasons I got to know you so well is we worked on the constitutional amendments that were facing Florida last election cycle. The party was able to help in fighting that and educating people on why those two constitutional amendments were bad. Where are we going with constitutional reform? I know we did petition ballot reform, which I think will go a long way in making sure Floridians are the ones collecting. But where do we go to protect our state from some of that out-of-state stuff?
Sure. Well, first of all, it was an honor to fight with you on those amendments. I think we've seen that, Florida's got Republican leaders. We've got supermajority Republican legislators. We've got good conservative laws. So what does the left and where does evil now want to go to have influence? They try to go through our ballot. They try to enshrine these dangerous things in the Constitution where they will very likely be there forever. And we're going to see more of this going forward. That's why we worked, my office worked with the legislature last session to pass new legislation that makes it harder for parties to just go out and pay for signatures to get on the ballot. Look, if 1 million citizens truly believe something should go on the ballot and they want to sign and they want to provide proper, form of identification, then so be it. That's the will of the people. But what we were seeing is out-of-state, large corporations, willing to spend $150 million to put something that's very deceptive and confusing on the ballot, and in some cases would make them, very, very wealthy. So we're going to continue to crack down to protect our ballot, to protect our Constitution, and ensure that we continue to be the free state of Florida.
And we appreciated your help because I think that's the future, is that because they know the legislature's rock solid and they'll go through that method. We talk about, I think you're a great example of somebody who has argued and campaigned that we need to govern a certain way. And when we get there, you've delivered on those promises. I think what we've seen here in Florida is we've gone from a state that a couple of years ago, Democrats had a 400,000 voter advantage. As of right now, we're almost to 1.4 million Republican advantage. Is it the policy that's leading that? And is it the grassroots who are going out and working? What do you credit and what do you think that shows other states what they could do?
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, when Governor DeSantis won his first race by 30,000 votes, I think a lot of politicians would have said, well, we're in a purple state, let's moderate ourselves. He didn't do that. He continued to drive conservative policy after conservative policy, did not run to the middle, had a lot of courage and took the arrows. And at the end of the day, we drove further right. We then had a great grassroots swell around the state, and RPOF has been a wonderful integral leader there, getting people out to knock on doors, which is still the best form of campaigning, spreading the word, continuing to fight for what's right and just and true. And we've turned Florida red because we've been conservative, not because we've hid from it.
And you talk about the 30,000 vote victory from the governor. We could have had Andrew Gillum in the mansion. And I can tell you that
we might still be in a COVID lockdown if he was elected.
We'd be wearing masks. We wouldn't be able to talk. I mean, he was the mayor of Tallahassee, so I knew how dangerous that was. And that's kind of funny how history can change like that. You wouldn't have thought that then, that we'd be a firm red state, but I think it is strong leadership that's gotten us there. And I think, moving forward, I'm looking forward to a great election cycle where we have a lot of great Republican candidates. I think we can win some more seats, but I appreciate you joining us here today and talking to our viewers about where we're going as a state and what you do and the important role you play. So thank you, General.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to support the Republican Party of Florida. This is Attorney General James Uthmeier. If you'd like to know more about me and our fight for Floridians, please visit jamesforfl.com.